Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining me for this presentation on the critical three C's. Focus on communications, content, and community to win now and in the future. I want to thank Dan and Cody and Celia and everybody at FAI for allowing me to participate this year. I've been to the last two summits in person in Orlando and in Albuquerque last year. And like all of you, I wish we could be there together again in Denver this year. I went to high school in Denver, and I went to college up the road in Fort Collins. So Colorado is a real special place to me. I want to just talk a little bit about these topics of communications during the coronavirus crisis and also after, and how I think that they are crucial to your success now and as we move forward through this. So I just want to give you a little preview here of where we're going to go today. I'm going to give you a little brief bio of me. And then I want to share a really compelling story I discovered recently about a fitness studio in North Carolina and the owner's efforts there to reach out to one of his members, share an update from Georgia, which is where I live, talk about those three critical C's and what we're all craving the most, I believe, a couple opportunities, and then how I think I can help you grow your business. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about my story. First, go ahead and get a gander at these photos. The first one I put up on my Instagram poll, I don't know, a month or so ago. My hair was just driving me crazy. I know a lot of people are saying that, during the lockdown, that they need a visit to the barbershop or the hair salon, and I was certainly one of them. And I waited a couple of more weeks, and then I just couldn't take it anymore, and I got out the clippers. I was an Army brat, so I was familiar with the look. Anyway, I'm Jay Croft. I'm the creator of PrimeFit content. A lot of you might be familiar with me through webinars I've done with the Functional Aging Institute. I've been in the mastermind, which I want to take a moment to give a big thumbs up to. If any of you are thinking about joining the mastermind, it's completely worth your time and money and energy. It's a great investment for you to make. And Dan and Cody and Celia and everyone in the mastermind have just been great to me throughout my whole time in this industry. So glad to be here. Anyway, PrimeFit content is my business wherein I provide original marketing material to gyms and studios and trainers who want to reach our demographic of people over 50 years old. I'm not a trainer. I don't own a gym. I'm a writer, an editor, content director, consultant, whatever you want to put it. I've spent about 20 years in daily newspapers as a writer and an editor, and then about 10 years in corporate communications. And I've been doing this for a couple of 3 years now, when I reached a point in my career when I wanted to write about things that really mattered to me again and get away a little bit from chasing the career ladder so much. I love telling stories. And so when I can combine my storytelling passion with business and helping business owners grow, then I'm really happy. And so I'm delighted to share with you the short story here about Helen and Joe in Asheville, North Carolina. Not only is it a great story, but it illustrates a lot of the points that I want to make. So Joe here owns a studio in Asheville, and Helen there is a client of his and has been for a few years. Helen's in her 70s, and when Joe had to close down his studio and move to Zoom workouts, he communicated very clearly to all of his over 50 clients what he was doing. Most of them got on board and were really excited about it. And Joe kept noticing that Helen wasn't showing up. So he called her up and said, Helen, I noticed you're not participating. What gives? And she said, yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't have a computer. I don't want a computer. I barely have a smartphone. I only use it for texting with my daughter, and I don't want to be bothered with that. And Joe, of course, knew Helen well by this point and knew that she had some chronic health issues that she had been working really hard to manage. So he reminded her of that. She still resisted. He persisted. Eventually, she agreed that she would let him try to teach her how to use Zoom on her phone. It took not once, but twice, two phone calls between the two of them to hammer it out, and got on each other's nerves a little bit. They both shared with me, and stuck with it, because Joe cares about his clients and Helen cares about her health. And I just thought that was a great story that he really stuck with her, and she was open to it. And now she is doing her workouts on Zoom and happy about it. So I share that story because, as you know, we often hear that people in our demographic don't want to learn how to use technology or don't want to try new things. And that is a myth that I enjoy busting every chance I get. So I share that in the spirit of showing that those stereotypes, are just generally not true. I live in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and Georgia was the first state to allow gyms and a lot of other businesses to open. Our governor told us that the gyms could reopen on April 24th. He told us this on, I believe, April 20th at the end of the business day. So gyms didn't get much notice, and other businesses could open the next Monday. Some did, some didn't. It was not a mad rush to reopen gyms and restaurants and everything else, because many people here felt that the governor got ahead of the science and they didn't feel comfortable going to the gym or the hair salon or what have you. And many still don't. Some gyms have opened, some haven't. Some restaurants have opened, some haven't. There's a real ambivalence about going back to these businesses, these places that, even though we're allowed to now, many people are saying they don't necessarily want to. Share that with no judgment. I just share it in case, just in the interest of reporting that that's what's going on here. Of course, things are different everywhere in every state. And these early experiences I'm talking about really share the importance of these 3 C's of communications, content, and community, as did the story about Joe and Helen, right? The situation is so fluid, it's always changing. Your customers, your clients, even your prospects, and the people in your community who might want to come to your gym or your studio or hire you as a trainer, they don't necessarily know what's going on with gyms broadly or your facility in particular. So you've got to let them know. You've got to let them know if you can open, if you're going to open, what you've done to ensure a safe environment, what they can expect and what you expect of them if they come in, and also what kind of virtual training you're going to continue to offer. I think we've all been surprised at how many people in our demographic really like it. I have been anyway. I guess I shouldn't speak for others, but it's become popular. People like the Zoom. And as we continue in this slow transition, I think you're going to see more of your customers saying, I want both, or I want the option, right? So I think that's an interesting development that we've seen out of this. So these 3 critical C's that are near and dear to my heart, and should be to yours too, should be to any business, are to any successful business, are communications, content, and community. So in communications, whenever someone asks me for help, or when I had a corporate job, whenever I was assigned something by an executive or a communications team, I would say, okay, who are you talking to? What do you want them to do? That's really what it comes down to in every communications, whether it's a video, a Facebook post, a billboard, a TV show, anything you're doing, you've got to keep in mind your audience, because of course you speak to different groups of people in different ways sometimes. What's your message? You want that to be steady and consistent and clear. And then what do you want them to do? These are things that we all must keep in mind when we're communicating. Content is a subcategory, I guess, of communications. And it's really important now, regardless of where you are and regardless of where your community is as far as ability to open your gym or if people are doing so or not, because you need to stay involved and you need to stay in front of them. You need to show them that you care about them, that you're there for them, and that you're not going away. So the content is a really great way to do that. And here I am hiding my logo. That pretty? And I was hiding it with my ugly face. And then the third C, of course, is community, because you are more than a workout, aren't you? Your business is more than a bunch of weights and some mats on the floor. You've worked really hard to create a community, to instill it with your values and your personality, and communications and content go to building that, go to perpetuating that, nurturing it, spreading it, regardless of whether you're doing it in person or virtually. So communications, got these logos here with Facebook and your smartphone and snail mail or email and everything, right? Lots of ways to communicate these days. When we were all growing up, well, if you're I'm 56, so if you're around my age and older, when we were growing up, there were 3 TV networks and a newspaper in your town. Maybe if you were lucky, you had 2 newspapers in your town. And you could make a long distance phone call, but it was expensive. It was a big deal, and if you wanted information, you probably went to the library, or if your family had encyclopedias, right, you could look at those. Well, that's not how we operate anymore. Everything is instantaneous. Everybody can get anything. It used to be that your newspapers made and your TV news made decisions about what you as a community would know about and would talk about. And now that's just not the way it is. We all have these things, and we use them to find information about goods and services and news and interests that we have. And we rely on social media and our friends' recommendations in our purchasing decisions. So as communicators, as business people who need to be communicators, the number one rule that I want you to take away from this is that you can't communicate too much. It's natural to think, I already told them this, they know this, everybody knows this. But trust me, they don't. Anytime you find yourself thinking, surely everybody knows this by now, you need to tell them again. Be clear in your messaging, and be clear in your messaging in all formats. So even though you might use slightly different language or tone depending on your audience, the messaging is going to be clear and consistent. And you're going to repeat it on every channel. Facebook, if you have Facebook, Instagram, if you have Instagram, email, newsletters, your blog, posters by the water fountain, everything. Keep people up to date, but don't have a spinning out of control category to or feeling to what you're doing. And these are just some of the people you need to include in your stakeholders, your clients, of course, also your prospects, definitely your employees. Don't forget them. You can't do anything without their support, and your neighbors and the people in the community. While we're communicating and marketing our goods and services, some people during this time have expressed concern about, is there an ethical question about marketing myself during this time? And it's an interesting topic. I want to say, no, there's not an ethical dilemma, as long as we follow some basic decency and good business practices and transparency. We want to always be compassionate in how we're expressing ourselves, not accusatory, not divisive. We want to clearly state whatever changes we're making to our operations so that everyone understands. Keep the focus on how you can help people, whether that's your clients and prospects or your neighbors or a charity organization or your vendor, anyone you're working with. How can you help them at this time? Remember how important your service is and that you're an expert at delivering it. Looking for an opportunity is not the same as exploiting it. If you ever wonder if it's inappropriate to market yourself and your business, think about this. What is inappropriate is price gouging. Do you remember when all this started, there were stories about people who went around to all the stores in their town and bought up all the Purell hand sanitizer and the Clorox wipes and everything and stored them in their garage and basement so that they could then sell them later to their desperate neighbors at a ridiculous markup? That's wrong. That's inappropriate. That's what you don't want to be doing. Marketing, telling people you exist, these are your services, these are your hours, these are your prices, this is how you can help them. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would argue that you're doing a service by informing people about your business, particularly people over 50, and particularly during this time because they need you and they don't know. And it's up to you to tell them. Finally, just a little bit here. Avoid politics. Don't bash the media. Don't talk to people like you're a doctor. Don't offer your opinion on the World Health Organization or the CDC or whether masks are good or masks are bad or rubber gloves are good or what. Don't. Just leave that stuff for the medical experts. Here on content, the second of the 3 C's. Content is a subset of communications. The number one rule of content is that you're engaging your audience of clients and prospects. You're not selling to them all the time. It's not advertising. It's material that is helpful, informative, inspiring. It's just interesting. They want to see it. They're happy to have it. It helps them know you, like you, and trust you. And during this time, it's really important that you stay in front of them. And so by sharing this content with them, kind of content I'm talking about, kind of content I provide, you're maintaining a good relationship. You're in fact nurturing those good relationships with your clients and your prospects. And you're showing them that you care about them and that you value the relationship that you have with them beyond getting money from them, right? I always like to say it's sort of like the friend that you used to have who only called you when he needed a favor. Did you have a friend like that? Maybe you still do. He never called just to offer you to invite you over for dinner or to see if your kids wanted to come over and play with his kids or whatever. He would only call you if he needed something. You don't want to be that friend with your clients and your prospects. You want to be the person who's giving value, who's giving interesting material, who's giving them content that they're going to treasure and value so that when they're ready to do business, whether it's in person or online, whether it's today or later, they know you, they like you, they trust you, you're the guy or woman they want to do business with. I'm having trouble with my little clicker here today. So the content I provide is, I send it in an email newsletter that looks like this. I also allow you to download the raw files so that you have the Word documents and the JPEG files. And although this has my logo on it, you don't have to put my logo on it at all. In fact, I designed it deliberately so that you could use your own branding on it. But I'm showing you this so that you get a sense of what you get. The lead article here with this couple, I met them last year when we were at the summit in Albuquerque. It was also the National Senior Games. And we were there with Dan's father. A bunch of us from FAI were there cheering on Dan's father. And that day I met this couple. And this gentleman, I think his name was Joe Gillis. Now I'm going to get that wrong. But in any case, he had been diagnosed with cancer a few years before and was not given a very good prognosis. But he'd always been athletic, he'd always taken care of himself, and he wasn't going to just give it up, you know? So he incorporated intense fitness into his recovery from the disease, and is now recovered and doing really well. And obviously is participating at the senior games. So I wrote a nice story about that. And also, so you get the longer article. This is about how exercise helps older people with cancer and helps them to stay healthy. I also write a shorter article. This one happened to be on a report saying that the benefits of exercise don't expire with age. There's a healthy recipe, a watermelon jicama salad this week, and a motivational meme. And I break all this up for you so that you can do whatever you want to with it, but primarily so you can send it as emails, post it on Facebook and Instagram, and make blog posts with it, so that you've got that three-pronged approach to getting your material out to the folks. This gentleman is Joe Palitzi, who is the founder of the Content Marketing Institute. And I've been an admirer of Joe's for a few years now, since I was working in the communications for Coca-Cola here in Atlanta. Joe is a podcast host, and he has some books, and he's just a real thought leader in the field of content marketing. And I listened to his podcast about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said this, and I want to share it with you. It's a little bit long, but stick with me. I've never seen a bigger opportunity to build audiences than right now, to invest in relationships with customers. How do you communicate better, figure out what their needs and wants are, and deliver on those needs and wants through information, not just your products and services? If you can do that right now, when we come out of this, you will have a huge advantage over everyone else. I believe that to be true. Joe is not speaking just about our industry, but about all of them, and you can't go wrong with that. Training has been devalued because you can buy workouts anywhere. You can download PDFs. You can go onto Amazon.com and look at beautiful videos, right? It's available everywhere. It's off. You know what's missing, and that's you, your business, your passion, your personality, your expertise, your time and attention and energy. That's what makes your business special. That's what goes into building community. Excuse me. That's what goes into building community. And that's what's going to be key to keeping you going through this time and when we're done. It's not about workouts anymore, just workouts. It's not about just price anymore. I think it never was for our demographic, but even more so now. It's about community. You built your community before COVID-19. You're nurturing it now. Just by participating in this conference, you're nurturing it now, because you're learning so much, and you're going to go back and share it with the people you serve. And you're going to grow it more when we get to the other side of this. Because what we're craving right now, what I believe people are craving right now, is connection. Everybody wants a good workout. We've always wanted that. But I think what you all have an ability to give people right now is this connection that they're lacking elsewhere. That can be done through Zoom workouts if you've been doing that and you're still doing that, or through the communications that I hope that you're providing to them about your reopening, and also through the way you care for them and communicate with them and treat them through the reopening process, and in those first 2 or 3 months that are going to be so important. The communications, content, community, they're like 3 legs of a bar stool for me. Is one more important than the other? Maybe not. Can you have the other 2 if you don't have one? I don't think so. I think if you remove one of those legs, you got a busted stool. And the most important thing here is this community. This community is going to sustain you through tough times. It's going to sustain you if we have to close everything down again, if there's a second wave of the pandemic, or if another disaster comes along. That's going to be your lifeblood. I think you know that. I want you to meet some really cool people I've met in Denver, and she is an instructor. She teaches a class for women in their 60s and 70s who have osteoporosis. And the woman on the left there is Aurelia, one of her clients. And I spoke with both of them because I was just so knocked out with the way Holly successfully transitioned her training online. And kind of like Joe and Helen at the beginning, this story really illustrates some of the fallacies of those myths about older people. These women are dedicated to their fitness. They want to support Holly. They want to support each other. And if it meant learning how to use Zoom, then big deal. They were glad to do it. And Holly's glad to help them. And everyone's succeeding. And this is the kind of outreach that is so important, I believe, in moving forward. This young man here in the photo is Halen. He's in Connecticut. He has a facility that markets primarily toward our demographic as well. And Halen's done some really interesting things reaching out to his community. Trivia night online, which I thought was a lot of fun, similar to how I know many of you have done virtual happy hours and coffee clatches and that kind of thing. My point in sharing all of this is that sky's the limit with how you respond to this. You can curl up in a ball and say, just wake me when it's over and I'll communicate with people then, but you won't have a community. Holly and Halen have been working really hard with a smile on their faces to communicate, to share content, and to build their communities. And they're doing great through all of this. And we talked a minute ago about the opportunity that we have now. We also have an opportunity coming up. Let me move my ugly mug again. Regarding what happens as we move closer to reopening. Now, a minute ago, we talked about an opportunity that we have regarding all of this from Joe Palitzi. Now, I think we want to talk about the opportunities inherent in reopening. Some of you have already reopened. Some of you are hoping to reopen soon, of course. So I want you to keep these principles in mind about communications and content and community. And remember that your audiences include your employees. You won't be able to reopen successfully without their support. So make sure you have it before you announce your plans to your broader community. Listen to them, hear their concerns, get them on board before you go public. Keep a positive tone in all your communications. Remain transparent in everything you do. Be helpful and kind and understanding. It's a hard time for everyone. A lot of people are happy to have an argument. I don't think that serves your business very well. Save your argument for your brother-in-law at home, and stay strong for yourself and for your people. So how I help? I provide weekly content that, again, is ideal for your Facebook email newsletters and your website. Keeps your audiences engaged, helps you grow your business with leads, prospects, and retention. And it saves you time and money. I'm a veteran communicator. This is the only thing I've ever done for a living in my whole life. I've worked at big time newspapers, big news organizations, and at some of the largest corporations in our country. I say all this not to boast or anything, but just to say that this is my job. This is my profession. I know what I'm doing. And I save you time and money, just like anything else that you hire out for. Could you do certain things? Certainly. Do you have better things to do with your time and money? Absolutely. So in addition to the weekly content that I make available on my website, I do custom content for gyms, studios, trainers, any kind of fitness business that wants material that's specifically about their business and their people. And more now, since all this has been happening, I've been practicing strategic communications consulting, because it's one thing to provide material, it's another to help a gym or studio get an idea of how they should be communicating, what all the pieces might look like, how to keep things going. So if I can help you, if any of this sounds interesting, please reach out to me. My website here is primefitcontent.com. You can see my email there and my phone number. And I look forward to hearing from you. And I really look forward to seeing you all next year. Let's hope we can meet then. And again, thanks to everybody at FAI, Dan and Cody and Celia. And everybody take care of yourselves. Be good. Thanks. Bye.